Today we will talk about one of the famous and outspoken teachers of the church. His name is Saint John Chrysostom. John was born in year 347 AD in the city of Antioch, which is between Syria and Turkey. It is a city full with pagans and unbelievers at that time. John's father died when he was a young child, and it was his mother that raised him up. Not only she gave a great attention to his education, but also brought him up in the fear of God. John Chrysostom was taught in one of the famous literature schools in Antioch. He was so much loved by his teachers, even though he was Christian and they were all pagans. For 2 years after his graduation, Saint John devoted himself to work as a lawyer for the poor and the needy. At the age of 25, he left the city and became a monk in one of the monasteries. He followed a very strict ascetic life, degrading himself from the very necessities of life, and devoted himself for prayer, fasting, and reading the Bible. He lived in a cell alone as a hermit. Then he became so sick and was unable to live alone in the cell, so he returned back to Antioch. In Antioch, he became very well known for his sermons, and the people called him Chrysostom, which means the golden mouth. So many people would come from far distance to hear his sermons, even the non-Christians. It is said that Saint John Chrysostom had 1,400 sermons. Also at Antioch, he was ordained a priest. He fed the people with the word of God, preaching several days in the week, and frequently several times on the same day. He had no care in the word except that Antioch should be brought up to Christ. Later he was ordained as a bishop in the city of Constantinople. Constantinople is now called Istanbul. That's the capital of Turkey, which is about 800 miles away from Antioch. In Constantinople, Saint John Chrysostom was faced by so many rich, evil people who lived in luxury and refused to help the poor. Lots of Saint John's sermons was addressed to these people to live a life of humbleness and avoid the luxury that does not save them. Queen Eudoxia, the evil queen, was not accepting John's words. In year 403, she conspired against him to get him to exile and kicked him out of the city. For 3 days Constantinople was in uproar, after which the saint has surrendered himself and was exiled, but soon to return after the earthquake shook the city, and the queen felt that this was a warning from God because of what she had done. Then again, the queen decided to put a big silver statue of herself in front of the great church, Hagia Sophia. Saint John Chrysostom objected and spoke loudly against it. He was once more time exiled and out of the city. The soldier treated him very badly on the way to exile, and he passed away in year 407 AD. 31 years later, his body was returned back to Constantinople. Saint John Chrysostom got into so much trouble because he stood up to the bad people in his city, even if he had to stand up against the queen herself. Do we do the same? Are we able to stand up against bad behavior, even if this bad behavior comes from our friends? Do we stand quiet, doing nothing, or do we speak up and tell our friends that what they're doing is wrong? What do we do when we notice that two of our friends are starting to develop a questionable relationship? Do we act as if we haven't heard anything, haven't seen anything, and we're not willing to say anything? Or do you get your choice? You either can say the right thing, and you might get cast out of the group, or your friends might not want to hang out with you anymore, or they can even talk about you behind your back. Of course, you can't just go around telling everyone what they did was wrong. You will need some sort of a guidance, someone to tell you how to deal with these situations, as each situation could be different. That's why God have arranged for you fathers and mothers, fathers of confession, parents, and Sunday school teacher to guide you on each step. Just last and not least, to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it's a sin. James 4:17.